Hello friends, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 21st June 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the important articles. Let us take overview of all these articles. The comrades and their divergent perspective. So this is important from GS2 paper, international relations part. So it is talking about the dynamics between the foreign relationship or foreign policies of Russia, China and India, especially after the disintegration of USSR up to recent times. Okay, so on page number 6, from IR perspective we will discuss that. Then focus on COVID-19 estimated deaths. On page number 7, op-ed page, the particular article is talking about importance of exact estimation of deaths due to COVID-19 in pre-planning for this pandemic, for management of this pandemic. Okay, so the writer is giving way forward also how to remove the gap between the actual deaths and the reported deaths, right. So this is important from GS2 governance and COVID-19 perspective. Then a matter of dress and discipline. Recently CBI director has called upon all of its employees to have formal dress all the time, both men and female, right. So this is actually the context. Then we have to understand why it is important that law enforcement agencies like police and other establishment, they need to have appropriate dress code. So some ethical aspect we are going to discuss, because ethics in public administration, then we have probity in governance, these topics we can expect such kind of question, even if it is not directly asked, indirectly we can use them. And then prelims examination, pact signed to conserve rare turtle in Assam. So which particular species that this article is talking about, then its IUCN conservation status. From environment perspective, this is important. Lastly, some COVID-19 related developments and practice prelims MCQs that we will solve on today's current affairs. At the same time, today is International Yoga Day, 21st June. So basic information about that also we will understand here from prelims perspective. Then let us go into detail. First, the comrades and their divergent perspective. The comrades, here it is talking about the three countries, Russia, China and India. Okay, and then divergent perspective, that means there are some concerns in this relationship. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that India and China, their disputes, internal disputes should be solved by these responsible leaders. At the same time, there should not be external powers involved in solving this dispute, right. So to some extent we have to understand the meaning, or let us say implicit intention meaning of such kind of statement. Yes, analysis of this statement itself. First thing is that we have to understand it is supporting, that Russian leader or president is supporting China's argument that Quad is being used against China. Implicitly, this is the context of this statement. First thing we have to understand. Along with that, the second thing is that Russia is deliberately ignoring aggressive policies of China in South Asia and Southeast Asia region, in South China Sea also with India. So this is to some extent can be understood from the recent statement by Russian president. Now we have to also understand the growing Sino-Russia relationship and the background. We can understand this growing Sino-Russian relationship, we can say after Cold War, end of Cold War, Russia started to have positive relations with China, whatever the earlier distrust they had during Cold War era. You need to remember that during Cold War era, Russia and China did not have good relation. Rather, US and China, Russia and China did not have good relation. Rather, US and China had good relations during Cold War, right? But this equation has changed after Cold War. Russia is now cooperating with China. Along with that, we have to also understand that whatever the stand that is being taken by China, Russia is supporting. China's stand in Asia Pacific region or Indo Pacific region issues. Okay, regional issues. Also, we have to understand that Russia is not accepting Indo-Pacific, the strategic aspect. Rather, Russia is saying that it is Asia-Pacific, not Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific is to some extent the term coined by US or the Western powers, and India agrees with this Indo-Pacific. However, Russia is saying that this region calls it as Asia-Pacific region. This is also in line with China's perspective. Right. So, this is how the growing Sino-Russian relationship, this context we have to understand. Along with that, the changes after disintegration of USSR, especially in India's foreign policy. Changes in India's foreign policy after Cold War. Because we know that during Cold War, India, Russia enjoyed very good relationship. Right. So, we have seen the kind of defense partnership we had with Russia. Along with that, also we had friendship treaty signed, especially during that Bangladesh War of Liberation 1971. Right. So, this is how we have to understand the good relation. But after Cold War, or we can say after disintegration of USSR, to some extent our policy measures changed. Now, India started, we can say, multilateral relationship rather than aligning with any power bloc, rather than aligning with any power bloc. Second thing we have to understand that after, let us say, multilateral or opening the wide spectrum, India to some extent, especially during and 2000s, enjoyed good relations with US, more cooperation in defense, nuclear, let us say civil nuclear treaty was signed at that time, right. So, good relations with US to some extent it affected relationship with Russia as well as China. Now, third thing we have to understand, the kind of defense relationship we had with Russia, that also declined, and India's defense relationship with US, France, then you can say UK and other such countries, it also increased. Along with India's cooperation with Japan and Australia also increased, be it in economic cooperation or defense cooperation also, right. This is visible from the bilateral and multilateral naval exercises and the other armed forces exercises between these countries. So, to some extent this is how we are more inclined toward Western powers after disintegration of Cold War, but we are maintaining strategic autonomy, especially when we are talking about the relationship that we need to maintain with towards Russia, China and US or Western powers. Now, analysis. After understanding all these things, in analysis we have to understand that China to some extent is growing power in Asia or at world stage it is challenging the hegemony of US, right. So, this is accepted. However, this will be challenged and constrained by India to greater extent. This particular situation is to some extent exploited by US or other Western powers to ensure their presence in Indo-Pacific region. And from this aspect we have to understand that the naval strengths or capabilities of three countries, China, US and India, in Indian Ocean region. In Indian Ocean region, these will be having substantial consequences on all the geopolitics that is going to happen in near future in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so naval strengths at present, these three are the contending powers in Indian Ocean, and whatever the consequences in future we are going to see, that is going to revolve around these three. Fine. So, this is how the analysis is done, especially we are talking about the relationship between Russia, China and India, how it changed. Such kind of question we can expect in GS2 paper, right. Fine. Now, moving on to next article, focus on COVID-19 estimated deaths. So, yes, the context of the article is that recently from some of the states like Maharashtra, Bihar, it is found that there is under-reporting of deaths happening due to COVID-19, right. So, this is the context, and then we have to understand the significance of appropriate we can say exact estimation of deaths. First thing we have to understand the significance for planning by government to deal with next waves, right. This is to some extent supported by the mathematical models. They will be able to project the nature and the severity of the next COVID-19 waves when the exact number of deaths are reported. Third thing, people have right to know in democratic country. People have right to know the truth, and therefore the government has responsibility to share the exact data regarding the deaths that are happening due to COVID-19. Right. So, this is the important significance of exact estimation. Overall, it is going to help for dealing with the next waves of the pandemic. Now, the way forward that is given in this article by the writer, it is saying that there are 4 measures that are required to be understood in this direction. Death audits. Such kind of death audits recently were carried out in Bihar, Maharashtra, and they have been effective. And they were carried out in less time also. They were carried out in less time also. Basically, death audits means the auditing of all deaths that are occurring throughout the state by health officials along with the administration, civil administration. Together, they will try to understand the causes of deaths that are happening, and they will verify them. Right. So, this is death audits, right. This gives the appropriate data and understand the gap between the reported deaths and the actual deaths. Second option can be excess death analysis. So, yes, excess death analysis, after knowing the data, we have to understand that data and analyze that data. Analyzing that data, and through this analysis we will be able to understand that whether the particular death is happening because of complexities that are happening after COVID-19 infection, right? Many a times what happens, suppose any person is there about 70 years of age, that person recovers after COVID-19 infection, but later after 1 or 2 months there are some complexities happens due to, let's say, any failure of any organ, because this infection is weakening several organs in the human body, and in future that may result into death of the person. But whether that death is being reported as the reason of COVID-19 disease or not, this is to be analyzed, the reasons behind the deaths, right? This is the second aspect. Then death survey followed by verbal autopsies. Now this is also important, and this should be included both in public health infrastructure and private hospitals also. Private hospitals as well as urban and rural areas. At present we can understand that in rural areas there is lack of health infrastructure, and therefore at the same time testing capacities are also not available. Suppose there is any one person living in rural area, that person is feeling sick, he is having fever, having same symptoms of COVID-19, but that person is not aware about these symptoms, and that person goes to at taluk level, any, let's say, MBBS doctor is there, and that doctor is prescribing medicines without explaining the reason or whether that person should get tested or not. After some days, suppose the severity of the disease increases, and suppose because of comorbidities that person die. Now the people, relatives, or let's say near and dear ones, they start thinking about that because of TB that person died, or any such particular comorbidities, and that death is not reported as COVID-19 death, right? So verbal autopsies can be helpful here in such manner. In rural areas we can employ the staff at panchayat level for recording the deaths that are happening, whether that person was tested for COVID-19 or not, whether it was positive or negative, whether it was recovered, whether that person had any comorbidities. That report should be maintained at panchayat level. Later on that can be, let's say, added through death surveys also, or we can say confirmed through death surveys. Then lastly, the long term exercise can be decadal census. This is very we can say helpful in US and other such countries. In 2020, even during pandemic, the census was carried out. Even during the pandemic, census was carried out. But in India, the census, decadal census, is still pending, and we do not have that facilities of online, let's say, monitoring of number of people and all these things. So we are still delaying that decadal census. So we need to have that census data for further planning regarding the birth rates, death rates, and the kind of deaths that happen in last 1 or 1.5 year because of COVID-19, and then we will understand the trends in demographic indicators. The trends in demographic indicators. Further, it will act as an input for demographic scientists, geographies, or we can say those people, expert people, they will give the recommendations for further planning for the government. This is how we have to understand from GS2 paper governance and COVID-19. Now, moving on to next article. The matter of dress and discipline on page number 7. The context of the article is that recently CBI director Subodh Kumar Jaiswal recently directed all officials in the agency to dress in formal clothes while on duty. Right. So this is the context. Why we are discussing from ethical perspective? Because this is actually talking about law enforcement agencies, or especially police institution. Now, what are the issues with police institution, and why this particular dress code, or we can say aspect, is important? Yes, the values, or we can say work culture, the important aspects of police organization, police institution is first discipline, second is impartiality, third thing we have to understand rule based, no arbitrariness. Fourth thing we have to understand that in addition to this there can be honesty, integrity in general for civil servants, and in addition to this we need to also understand when we talk about impartiality, it also includes the neutrality towards all religions. They should function in an impartial manner, and lastly efficiency. Now what is happening with respect to all these values at present regarding work culture of this organization? There is some kind of indiscipline happening, okay, be it because of, let's say, lack of dress code, or we can say other aspects also, right? So poor work culture is reflected in police organization, right? So this poor work culture is reflected through lack of productivity, outcome, or we can say inefficiency. Along with that, the kind of, let's say, biased attitude towards male or certain caste, community. We have seen that in many such cases, like Hathras case is there, delay in filing FIRs, a kind of, let's say, political pressure, they are coming under political pressure, buckling under that pressure, right? So this shows the integrity and the character is at stake. Then rule based, there is some kind of arbitrariness, vague provisions, age old provisions which are British legacy, they are being exploited from time to time, the loopholes in the legal provisions. This is resulting into lack of productivity, inefficiency, and the lawlessness can be seen to some extent in many instances that are happening in India, right? So this is the situation that we are facing, first thing. Second thing, the writer is also providing some inputs that the enforcement of discipline originates from the top, right? So yes, we can expect such case study also regarding work culture of police institution. This is pending, UPSC may ask such kind of case study. So here both aspects are important. First we can focus on social influence and persuasion techniques, and second we can say the strict approach, right? Strict approach can be made there. So social influence and persuasion techniques, this is that we are talking here. Discipline originates from the top, that means the leader, leadership qualities, lead by example. That means suppose the director is saying that all people should come in, or employees should come in formal clothes, that means director first itself should follow that rule, that is walk the talk, and then lead by example, we can say. It is having some kind of social influence and persuasion among the lower officials. Then along with this aspect, there can be other such aspects also, like reward and punishment approach can be there, right? Along with that, the second point the writer is talking, police personnel should not use their mobile phones while on duty. Now these two important directives were given by DG of Bihar Police earlier. Why mobile phones should not be used by police? This shows that they are lack of attention during duty. When the police personnel are chatting on the phone, can be seen by the people, or they are lacking the awareness of general happenings in the surrounding because of these mobile phones. This shows the lack of attention by the police personnel. It tarnishes the image of police institution among the eyes of people, right? So to some extent it is also resulting into inefficiency. Along with that, police personnel should not sport any religious symbol on their uniform or body that would indicate their religious leaning. Actually this was let's say the directive by DG of Bihar Police earlier. But why this was brought? Because many a times the police personnel were seen uh, donning the tika, Bhagwa tika, and to some extent it is religious aspect to the Hinduism, and police personnel being the civil servants or public servants, they are supposed to be following the constitutional values of secularism. Constitutional values of secularism. They take oath to uphold the constitution and its values, and therefore the secularism, which is very important value enshrined in our constitution, that is to be adhered, and therefore they should not have or sport any religious symbols. This is also important, right? So impartiality or the secularism is also important aspect. Ultimately, in analysis, what we can say here from this perspective, for police institution especially, the trust of the people in police institution is very important, right? So police actually represent the government or the administration because they are having direct interface with the people. They are seen among the people in the society, and therefore their working at let us say delivering the public services or delivering their duty. This shows the trust of the people. This decides the trust of the people in police. The second aspect is that we have to also understand the case study of, we can take reference of case study of CRPF. So during 1990s, there was new rule that was brought for all personnel of CRPF, that there will be medical examination after every year for its employees for checking their fitness to be in the service. This is important. The writer is saying that such kind of medical examination should be there not only for armed forces but also for police forces also, which are civilian forces to some extent, right? So medical examination every year will not only ensure the health of the police personnel but also will help in their promotion future on the basis of their fitness, right? We have seen that the police personnel, as their age increases, the size of their belly also increases. This actually tarnishes the image of the police personnel. You know, whenever we talk about the police, we imagine that the fitness, the first criteria, that public have the image of the police, right? And when we see the pot-bellied personnel in let's say roaming around us in the khaki vardi, to some extent it affects that perspective of the people about police institution. Fine. So these ethical aspects you can remember about the police organization. Now specifically prelims examination, pact signed to conserve a rare turtle in Assam. Now which species, that the context here we are talking, freshwater black soft shell turtle or Nilsonia nigricans, which is also called as Bostami turtle in Assam. Bostami turtle in Assam. Okay, so yes, there is agreement between these NGOs, Turtle Survival Alliance India, Help Earth, that signed the pact with Hayagriva Madhava Temple Committee. So this Hayagriva Madhava Temple in Assam, there is pond in that temple which has substantial population of these freshwater black soft shell turtles, which were once considered extinct in the wild, but now their population is there concentrated in that region, and therefore IUCN in 2021 Red Data Book categorized it as critically endangered species. Critically endangered species. But it does not enjoy legal protection under Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972, right. So to some extent this is also problematic, their conservation is important. Now being let us say worshipped in that particular temple by the people, these turtles are not let's say, conserved in a scientific manner, and therefore this pact, this initiative is going to help that conservation in a scientific manner about this species. Right. So, you need to remember that this freshwater black softshell turtle are not found in rivers, rather they are found in lakes, ponds of some of the temples in Assam. Okay, fine. Now, COVID-19 related developments. In one of the petition before Supreme Court, government has said that COVID-19 pandemic is one-time disaster such as, not an one-time disaster such as earthquake or flood, which victim can be compensated with just money. Here the ongoing pandemic which will continue to attack in waves, a broader approach is essential. The government was responding to the petition in Supreme Court to pay 4 lakh rupees compensation to the families of every COVID-19 victim. Now, this is also important. We have to understand the financial burden that the government is facing. If the government starts giving such compensation to each and every, let's say, relative of the person who has died because of COVID-19, then to some extent it is acting as a pressure on the government's coffers, and therefore the government is arguing that we need to have broader approach towards providing such compensation. Fine. Okay. Now try to solve this MCQ. Let me give you some time. Yes, there are two statements. We have to find the correct statement. Command of the question. Right. Freshwater black softshell turtle is found in Brahmaputra and its tributaries in Assam and Bangladesh. So, many times students do not know about this species, and when it is written freshwater, yes, logically a person can think about the rivers and mark it correct, but this is incorrect statement. Rather than rivers, they are found in ponds and lakes in temples of Assam, some of the temples of Assam, right. Its IUCN conservation status is critically endangered. This is correct statement. So, that is why the answer should be 2 only, BLs. Fine. Okay. So, yes, these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information about the foundation batch 2022 examination, UPSC CBC examination, so those who are starting their preparation for this examination for the first time, or let's say newly graduated students who want to pursue their career in civil services, for them this foundation batch at Luqman IS is the apt course to join. To know more about that course, you can contact Luqman IS. Thank you.
Live online classes are as effective as offline classes. Ethics with S. Ansari remains the best ever choice. Do you know that ethics paper is the only paper in general studies that pays more with less efforts? One can easily secure 130 to 140 marks. Luqman IS is a well-established name since 2014 for ethics paper. We offer 3 types of courses: Ethics Foundation course, Ethics Case Studies, and Ethics Test Series. Since 2015, Luqman IS students have maintained the records of securing the highest marks in this paper. Ethics Foundation course is starting from 21st of June 2021. Classes will be for 4 days in a week from 11 am to 1:30 pm. The course duration is of 60 days and the videos will be available for 75 days. There will be 43 classes, of which 35 classes will be focused on theory and concept building, and 8 classes will be dedicated for case studies. There will be over 180 case studies and 3 tests. Since 4 months are left for prelims, one can easily finish the ethics paper before prelims itself, and it's a good opportunity. So why to wait? Contact us today for more information.